this week's update at Armadale Auto Parts. Business as usual this week. Pretty busy after the Easter break. Lots of people coming in, buying bits and pieces, and they've been working on cars. Obviously, come Tuesday, they needed stuff. We got an update, or not an update, we got a stock take order come in from Jay Leno's, and we've got a new product. This is the matte detailer, ideal for matte and satin finish paints and even vinyl wraps. Pretty busy week out in the workshop as usual. We got a bit done on the 37 Ford truck. I did a bit more on my 59 Chev sedan delivery. Got the seats mounted, finished off some fuel lines, power steering lines, that sort of thing. Later in the week, we got a call from a good friend of ours, John, who's also in our car club, the Cranksters. He asked if we could help him by just getting his car for inspection. Needed a couple little bits and pieces, nothing big. So we did those few jobs, and we figured, hey, while we've got it here, we'll do a bit of a feature. Let's go have a look. As I was saying, this is Miss Stickshift.
So that's 3 times fast?
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I didn't build it, but he did. So we should have him explain why, what, where, how it all came about.
Okay, so myself and a good mate, John Hall, in about 2004 decided we both wanted, well, we were both into hot rod projects. He had a 46 Chev pickup, I think, at the time, and I had a T-Tudor, which I still have and still not finished. And it was all a bit hard, and we went, well, look, let's try and build. We thought there was a market for, or a possibility of building a cheap, low budget car that we could learn on and figure out how to do everything and that sort of stuff. So we went, well, we'll put a couple of grand in each and we'll do it. So yeah. So we bought, that was when you could buy Tiranas for $200. So we were buying running LX Tiranas for $200.
There's no way.
And this is why all the Tirana guys hate me. But anyway, so we did. We bought it
for the lease.
Yes, that's right. So anyway, we bought a Tirana. So it's got a Tirana front end, Tirana diff, original Tirana 4 bars at the back, but changed to coilovers, Jag coilovers. We had this cowl, which was the bottom 4 inches was rusty, so we locked it off. We had this back section, and we sort of added maybe, 6 or 8 inches or something like that into it to give it the right length. And we just sort of started from there, It's an RHS chassis. Originally it was a Trimatic, so 202 Trimatic. Disc brake front, so all LH Tirana braking and steering.
The idea being
just cheap. Yeah.
Cheap, and then it works. You know that the steering is going to work and the brakes are all going to work together.
That's right.
It's all from the same
That's right. And I think it weighs like 800 and, at the time, it weighed 820 kilo or something. It was like super light, And it handles like a go-kart, and so basically we built it and we drove it a lot. We built it in basically a year after work at my workshop, my furniture workshop, and it was in bare metal, and we drove it heaps in bare metal, and it was always on permits, so we got permits for everything. So it was a fully tested car by the time we went for rego, man. We knew everything about it, we knew how it handled, so it was a good driving car.
Nostalgic drags or something in it, and it was
still bare metal.
Yes,
that's right. That's right. Yeah, well, we actually took it to Whoop-Ass Wednesday and did a 15.3, its first time out, with the old tired engine before we put that engine in. So it goes really well because it's super light.
Yeah. It
gets off the line pretty quick. Probably 2, maybe 3 years ago, John put a Select 5-speed in it, and it's a totally different car now. It feels a lot more drivable.
Yeah.
But John's owned it now so we got it regoed in 2005. I sold it. I probably only had it for 6 months. Got it into a couple of magazines. Needed some money, so I sold it. The other owner had it for a couple of years. Then John bought it. off that guy, and he's had it ever since. So he's owned it now probably 13 years.
Yeah.
And it was his everyday car for a fair while. It's been across the Nullarbor 4 times.
Yeah.
Come out to the Salt with me that time in my car. Yeah, it's been used for everything.
And it's the sort of car as well where other people have gone, oh, what's it like to drive my ride?
Oh yeah, John's always keen. He hands the keys over to anyone. So yeah, like so many people have driven this car.
Yeah. I think it was the first like open car that I'd driven.
Yeah. But being an open car, it's actually not too bad. And I mean, John's driven across the country twice with it open. And I think it was the last time I talked him into, because that was the time we went out to the Salt. So we had, in a 14-day trip, we had 10 days that were over 38 degrees.
Yeah.
So I made him put this on, and then we sort of did a tarp roof just to protect it because it was just so hot.
Yeah.
But it's not too bad because of the sloping windscreen, and now with the seats being super low, you're sitting way down, so you get the rain or whatever flow straight over the top.
As long as you're moving.
Yes, if you stop and set a light, man, it's
like any hot rod.
Yeah.
Open.
But yeah, basically we built this in my furniture workshop. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we gave it a go. So we fabricated this. We then fabricated the back section, because then we thought, originally it was going to be a pickup, roadster pickup, and then we thought, we didn't, we ran it like that for a little while, then didn't like it, and then decided, let's see if we can make a back section. So we did that.
Yeah.
The grille shell's a 34 Buick, I think, that AB gave me and been run over by a bulldozer. So we straightened it out because we were just trying to do it on a budget.
Yeah.
And this car was built, painted, and registered for under $10,000.
Yeah.
So, but we did everything ourselves. So we didn't sub out anything to anyone. We did everything.
Yeah.
We wired it, we painted it, I think Drew might have done the seat cushions.
Yeah.
But that was it.
And you were explaining to me earlier that the way it's been built as well is the body can be lifted off and leave the entire drivetrain.
That's right. We didn't know. We thought, that'd be cool, and that's the smart way to do it. Why can't we do this? So underneath here, it's got 2 big tubes that mount to the chassis, so you can actually unbolt the body. The body slips up. The steering column stays, the brakes stay, because the firewall stays in that section. And everything's still there, so you can lift the body off and actually drive it as just a chassis.
Yeah.
It's fully drivable, everything is still connected. I don't know why we did it, we just thought, we were just learning and we were experimenting and playing around with things and thought, that'd be cool if we did that, so we did it.
Yeah.
So.
Even the windscreen, so that was, you guys made that up, that's all.
We made that in the weekend actually, that was our first sort of, Alec DeVal style screen, and we knocked that up in a weekend because, we'd seen them in the magazines, how cool's that, and then you see the price of them, they're like, $2,000 cast or something, and it's mate, we've got some steel over there and some grinding discs and let's do it, and we knocked it up, and I'll say to Alan today, that's the original glass from 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
That glass has never been replaced. There's maybe a couple of little chips in it, but it's still the original glass, so it's plenty strong. It's had a couple of different sets of cycle guards on it, but it's also had a real hard life.
Yeah.
John's raced it, he's, not afraid to take it on gravel tracks.
Well, we took it to Darken.
Mate, it's been on,
and I think everyone's had a shot at Darken.
Yeah. So it hasn't had an easy life. No. It's had a very hard life, but considering I reckon now it's probably done 130 k's, 130,000 k's. And like Alan said, 1 million people have driven it.
Yeah.
And for a while there, it was John's everyday work car for like 2 or 3 years. Rain, hail or shine, no roof, still drove it,
And the thing is, it's only here really because John's super busy, he's got stuff going on, and it's due for rego. So we just said, look, we'll drop it in, you have a look at it, see if there's anything. But You know, just gave it a clean,
Yeah.
tightened up a few little bits and pieces. Everything still works, still drives okay.
Yeah.
So really all
We
we
just
done
needed
is
to tidy up, so
yeah, a few little bits and pieces.
spent a few hours on it, and you know, it's back to being, you know, drivable again.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd happily jump in this tomorrow and drive it to Albany.
Yeah.
Back in the same day, like no dramas at all.
Yeah.
You know, no problems. So yeah. But yeah, it just shows that you can build a budget car, but you've got to do all the work yourself.
Yeah.
If you've got to pay someone to do that work, well then it's not a budget car.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway, how many hours do you think you probably spent? It's hard to say, I know.
Well, we did it, look, it was over a 12-month period, and it was like probably an hour or two after work every day, and then maybe Saturdays or something like that. And we knocked that out in 12 months.
So you said, say, 20 hours a week
Yeah, probably.
over a year.
Yeah. But and the thing is, at the time, we didn't know what we were doing, so we were sort of figuring out stuff as we were going along. So some things we did 2 or 3 times,
And tried different
you know,
things and you went.
and we tried to make it look what we thought was cool. Like, okay, people hang shit on us to run a front end because it's not an I-beam or whatever. You know, I like the look of an I-beam, but mate, like I say, 130,000 Ks over 13 years, across the country that many times, mate, you can't knock those front ends. I've got one in the Dodge, and it handles like a go-kart.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But we tried to, on mine, I tried to make it look a bit better with the bigger headlights. This has now got another set of headlights on.
Yeah.
Because it used to have little tiny Fords and tractor ones on at one stage. But then we made that little frame horn extension cover aluminium bit below the grill, just to hide the rack and
Protect it a bit.
yeah, just to sort of.
And I think the thing is as well, like you say, a lot of guys like the I-beam's a good looking front end, there's no doubt about it. These do drive better. I've driven both.
Yeah.
There's no buts and maybes.
Oh.
But the Tirana's about the right width, so it's not an exceptionally wide, whereas your HKTG and your Jag stuff's much wider and much heavier. And the HKTG, you put a rack on it, they drive terrible.
Yeah.
Whereas Tirana's designed, it's proven like they built cars.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
That's
So-
exactly right. And the thing is, by using the matching front end and rear end and braking system, it's all Tirana brakes. So you know everything's going to work. Licensing like it because it's everything's all the same.
And you
Originally this ran 13-inch wheels on the front, 14s on the back with moon discs. But 13-inch tyres are getting hard to get and that sort of stuff. So John's recently, within the last 12 months maybe, gone to 15-inch all-round Volvo rims, which is same early Holden bolt pattern.
And I'll, after this little interview, I'll put up a little bit up. We've got some of the magazines that the car was featured in, so I'll go through there and I'll take some photos and I'll do a bit more detailed work and I'll put some stuff in.
I'm just trying to think what else we used. I think the handbrake was some Japanese car that someone had dumped outside my workshop, so we ripped the handbrake out. I think the steering column was maybe Tirana, which we pulled all that plastic shrouds off and then just put a bit of tube on to seal it up, to tidy it up. The fuel tank in the boot, that was a Gemini, I think. And again, I think that was because someone dumped a Gemini outside the workshop and we went, oh, fuel tank, beauty, okay. Because we were trying to do it on a budget, it originally had steel bomber seats, which we made ourselves, which were surprisingly comfortable considering they only had padding in the bottom, and the back section, the rounded back section was all still steel, and it was surprisingly comfortable. You know, but since then John's lowered it even more and sort of put in a fixed seat, and it's a very low seating position. I'll show you. It's a bit hard to get into when you shouldn't drink and drive. But, so yeah, now you're sitting like that, whereas before you were actually up that high.
Sort of looking over the screen, whereas now you're over it, so therefore it should push the air.
Oh yeah, it does.
Because it'll mess your hair up.
That's exactly right. Well, you'll see in some of the pictures, in the magazine pictures, I actually had dark hair at one stage. That was before Alan gave me grey hairs.
So, and don't bother looking for me with hair. That's way past anyone having photos. It's been 25 years since I've had.
But no, this is a good car. I get all nostalgic when I see this. I don't see it a lot because John's got another truck the hot rod truck that he not used to drive all the time. So this sort of got retired a bit. But I do like jumping in it and driving it, and it brings back a lot of good memories.
Yeah.
Of, you know, especially that first year before it was registered. The amount of miles we did it on permits, and you know, I've got pictures of my youngest son going to the nostalgia drags in it with John driving, and he's like 10.
Yeah, right. To Cody's now he's
Well, what's Cody? Well, no, Cody's 29 or something now. So it's, well, yeah, something 10 or 12 or something. Anyway, he was little. So
it's not
yeah.
little now.
No, it's definitely not little now. But no, it's still it's a good car. It's proven. Yeah, a lot of people at the beginning says, oh, you know, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. But we've had no chassis problems. We've had no braking problems. There's been no steering problems.
It hasn't really had many.
It hasn't had. It had an overheating problem once when he drove it over east and went to Bright. And
Yeah,
then
I
Norm
remember
from Aussie Desert Coolers, he
We
called
had
in there
the-
one day and it was overheating, so they went bugger it, and the next day they just built a brand new radiator for it, and that's the same radiator I think that's still
Still
in
there.
it.
I remember that. Because the
So-
same trip, the only other issue I remember John having is we were heading up to Bright and we went over a railway line
Yep.
on one of the back roads, and the carby air cleaner
Oh, the
bounced
air
off,
cleaner came off.
hit him on the head, and so we had to stop and get it. We
Yeah.
thought it was funny.
Oh.
If we had video, it would have been fantastic.
If two people laugh,
It's ruled funny.
But no, it is. It's a good, fun car. So hot rodding doesn't have to be super expensive. You know, now with the rat rod craze and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
if you're prepared to give it a go yourself, okay, you might have to farm out some of the gear. Like you might have to get someone to do your chassis, or at least get you a rolling chassis or something. But if you're even reasonably competent with hand tools and that, you know, you can give it a go. And
I mean, over the years, we've built lots of different cars, lots of different things, and quite a few times what we've done is, you know, like a few 32 Fords, beam axle, 4-bar rear, put the body on, put the motor in, and we've probably done 4 or 5 where guys have gone, oh, I can take it from there.
yeah,
I
that's
can
right.
see
That's exactly right.
that part of it,
Yeah.
and they can mount the gauges and seats and
Yep.
shifters and all that. But
Yep.
that whole, especially for the first time guys,
Yep.
we've realised that the chassis and the mounting of the body and everything's a bit foreign. Once it's past that,
Once you've got a rolling chassis, say with the body and steering connected,
yeah,
the average person can sort of look at it and go, well, I can do this, I can mount my seats, I can work this out, I can work that out or whatever.
Yeah.
It might come back and we might do brake lines and fuel lines or something
Yeah.
like that, because a lot of guys don't have a flaring tool for doing the brake lines properly and that sort of stuff.
and we've
So,
done that
yeah.
a few times. I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
with that T-bucket, I think we did the part of the chassis on that. They took it away and then
Yeah.
brought it back, and we did
Yeah.
fuel lines.
We've
and
done a
brake
few of
lines
those, so...
You know, over the years, you know, you just do what you need to do.
Yeah. But yeah, don't be afraid to give it a go, and don't think that hot rodding has to be a $150,000 car. It can be,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to be, you know, like I say, okay, this was what, 14, 15 years ago.
So even
At
now
under
for-
10 grand, I reckon I could still build this now, even with the inflated prices of Tiranas.
Yeah,
I reckon I could build this now for 15.
yeah.
Yeah, if I was to build it myself, I reckon I'd still do it for 15 grand.
Because we've still managed to find a Tirana front end for our Jeep project. And that's
Yeah,
still
that's
the
right.
cost issue.
That's right. You pick them up at swap meets and that, you might pay $300 for it, but it might be missing the calipers, so you might have to pay another $100 to get a set of calipers.
and stuff like
So they're still available, but I like the Tirana front ends as much as people hang shit on me about it. Mate, I'd like to see them drive their cars as much as the cars I've built with Tirana front ends
Yeah.
have been driven. You know, like my car's now 93,000 Ks.
Yeah,
This would be 130.
yeah.
You know, so yeah, and without any dramas, that's the whole
That's the
thing.
Yeah.
You know, so but no, it's a good car. So
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
We'll cut back, and like I say, I'll do some more detailed shots, show you some of the magazine features. That's
Yeah.
it.
You need to put them back on so you can be
So I can see it,
Yeah.
put them back on.